Hello, hello, hello. TM24 here, and we are back with some more Marvel Snap content. Now, as you can tell by the thumbnail, by the title, by the guy in the corner, by the name of our deck, we got Stegron. First day of trying him out, so we're going to try him out in two decks and kind of just talk about how he felt, his real uses, where he seems to excel, where he is maybe a little bit of a letdown, but I want to know what you guys think, so let me know if you see anything or have any thoughts on Stagron. But first, let's talk about this deck that we've got him in, right? This is a Sarah, kind of miracle deck, right? We've got Zabu, we've got Sarah for discounts. Our other two drops are going to be Angela, Goose, because, hey, everything we play should be able to be played there except for Sarah. So ideally, that's a location we win. Storm. I got Storm in here because I would love to storm off a location, slap Kingpin on there afterwards to make sure that we have an open, open slots where we could send some of our opponent's cards flying. That is going to be the idea. Now, whether we can pull it off, who knows? But we got Juggernaut for the same thing, Killmonger to get rid of some of those pesky one drops, and hopefully delete all these Patriot decks that we're seeing. Kingpin, we already talked about. Absorbing Man so that we can copy our Shang-Chi or our Stagron or our Juggernaut and really own a couple of different lanes. Enchantress, again, Patriot, we're seeing it everywhere. So ideally, we have answers for most of these decks. And then, like we already said, Sarah for the discounts. You can see here, we're playing against a Mr. Negative deck. We're trying to get something out there. We see Limbo, so that scares us a little bit just because it means, they're going to have more draws to hit some of those powerful cards that they have. Now, we're holding on to Enchantress, we're holding on to Kingpin, we're holding on to Stagron because we want to save our resources for a time where they're actually going to be super, super impactful. So that's the goal. We're just waiting on them. We've got Sarah and Zabu down thanks to, Project Pegasus. Goose is ideally going to win us a location on, not on her own, but at least keep him out of there. With Mr. Negative, that's not always the case. Now, White Tiger sends their Tiger Spear over into Asteroid, which is great. We know we can win that location with one card. Now we got to make sure we win the other locations, and we do that by making sure they cannot pop off too hard on us. So what we've got to do is shut this game down early. We've got Storm ready to go, so we're looking at that Limbo, and we're thinking, hey, it's got to go. This game has to end now. But we've also got Kingpin. Now, Kingpin, awesome. Stagron, great synergy there. We already know we're going to win Asteroid because he's got enough power on his own, but we're just hoping we hit something, we send something flying and see Kingpin come through for us. The fact they played on Limbo scared us a little bit, but it was only boss, so we know we have won this game. Kingpin comes down, followed swiftly by Storm, and then Stagron comes through. Now, what is he going to hit? Tiger Spirit, Ironheart, but it's just Mr. Negative who gets sent to Kingpin's lane. Kingpin destroys him, and we win that game. Now, we were going to win that one anyway, but you see the idea, you see the plan there. Another side note here. Pretty cool animation coming through from Stagron. His tail's whipping through, sending a card flying. Just seems like, a top tier animation there. So here we've got the Super Flow. We've got that extra energy. That's going to be great, but we're looking at a handful of cards that we cannot play right now. The camp comes down. We pick up Black Cat, so you know what? Hey, we're like, we'll send it. They play quickly as well, and wouldn't you know it, they've got their own Black Cat. So cool little interaction there. We both getting the same card and both playing it. So pretty cool. But the real highlight here is this next play that we're gonna make, and it's Stagron, right? He can come through, and he can make sure that we have the advantage in Mirror Island. In locations like Mirror Island, where it scales, the more cards you have there, being up in terms of the number of cards on that location, on locations like the Nexus, on the location where if you have more cards than them, you have, plus 100 power. Those are all going to be locations where Stagron really seems to shine. We've got Absorbing Man because we want to push that advantage, right? And if we can send something flying into the Superflow, all the better. We see Arrow, and we're a little bit scared. Absorbing Man's going to borrow Stagron's tail real quickly. We're hoping it's not Mirror Island, and luckily, he sends it to the camp. We're ahead 7-0 in Mirror Island already, and it feels like we have probably won that location. We're able to get Sarah down comfortably and know that, we're going to have discounts incoming. We're already going to have 11, 12, 13 power there. After this turn, it's going to be really, really tough for them to keep up with us there. They play Yondu, and I think this is a Carnage as well. Yeah. And that's great for us because, again, we are ahead, right? We're gaining that +1 extra power, so it's really tough for them to compete. We're already up 8 there, and now we have a chance to just drop a couple of cards and protect our Superflow location as well. And the fact that we can add another 6 power in Kingpin and Goose, I mean, it's going to be really tough for anyone to come back. So Stegron was huge in the fact that he gave us that early advantage in Mirror Island. Juggernaut comes through, sends something flying. Kingpin takes it out, and we are going to easily win this game. So he really seemed to shine, when there was specific locations that you wanted to win. We're gonna have another episode, another example of that in this game here. But let's talk about this deck here. So it's a Stagron control deck, right? The idea here is to win a location with Professor X, and then use Stegron, hopefully in conjunction with Juggernaut, meaning you'll have to have Zabu down in order to bully your opponent off of a different location. So ideally, you get Sunspot, Zabu, Armor, something like that down, and then 5 will be Professor X locking that location. And then what you would do is then use Juggernaut and Stagron to bully them off of another location. Hopefully they've only got 1 card there. If they've got 2, you're going to be sending 1 flying, and Juggernaut will protect the rest of your card, the rest of that location. But the problem with this game plan that I found while trying this out is, if our opponent fills up a location like he is doing here in the Daily Bugle, it doesn't do us a whole lot of good to lock him out of Elysium because we don't get any real value out of Stegron, right? The only place he would be able to send him is to the Daily Bugle from the Nexus, or to the Nexus from the Daily Bugle. So by locking those locations, you kind of limit the effectiveness of Stegron, and maybe that's not where he really shines. But we do have an example here of how he can totally win you a location here, right? Spider-Man's going to come through. He's going to lock him out, but Stegron's going to make sure that they don't have any power there. So, yes, Spider-Man locking them out might have been enough, but it's guaranteed with Stegron because now we can continue to play on the Nexus, and they are not able to thanks to Spider-Man in combination with Stegron clearing the way. They've only got 1 spot left that they can even play a card now, and we can play anywhere we want. We've got Hobgoblin ready to go. We could even drop just Destroyer if we wanted to meme a little bit, but you can kind of see how he really excels at locking down those locations that you want to be ahead in. So, like I was saying, the Nexus, Mirror Island, the location, I always forget the location where if you have more cards than them, you get +100. Those are all going to be spots where Stagron is going to feel super strong. Now, another Nexus game here. So you already know the plan. You know the idea. We want to try and lock down the Nexus early and make sure that, we have a nice advantage thanks to the power, that the Nexus is going to give our cards and limiting the amount of power our opponent can put there. So we're going to start strong with the Green Goblin, and we're hoping that that's going to give us a big head start here. We're waiting on our opponent to play. Our Green Goblin flies across. We're feeling pretty good. But then we see Swordmaster. And all of a sudden, we're like, okay, that's a little bit scary. It's a 3/6. He's got power on the Nexus. He's got his Sunspot ready to go. And now we see Los Diablos base. So we don't want to commit too much to the Nexus in case the base actually hits it. And then we'll be overextended there. So we're only going to commit our Sunspot. we're just going to let him chill there, grow a little bit, and honestly, our opponent had the same idea we did. They commit to the middle lane for the same reason that they don't want to overcommit to the Nexus in case it gets destroyed. Now, luckily, Los Diablos base does not take out the Nexus, so now we want to go ahead and win that location. We want to protect it if possible. And we've got Juggernaut to do it. So we've got Juggernaut. We're going to slam him down. They do have priority, so we see his Dracula, but it doesn't matter. We're going to send it flying anyway. And Dracula hangs out with Sunspot on the base. Turn 5 is up, and, you know, we're slamming Professor X. We want to lock him out. They didn't play anything, so a little bit surprising there. Their Sunspot does gain 5, but now we feel like we're in a little bit of a tough spot. We've got to win the Ruins. They do have 2 open locations on either, but we're probably not winning Los Diablos base, right? Dracula's going to pull something here, which we know he's got Apocalypse, so we've got to play Stagron in the middle locations, in the Ruins. So we drop Stagron, we drop armor, we're adding 8. We're going to get up to 18. Now, pretty cool, something nice to know is Stegron can, as you saw, hit cards that have not been revealed yet. So kind of functioning like a Juggernaut in that sense. We see MODOK come down and he starts deleting cards. We know Dracula's going to get rid of 1. We get super, super lucky. Wolverine hits the base. Dracula pulls Apocalypse, which hits the base. And Morbius only gets to 10 power. So we end up getting that win. So, some final thoughts on Stegron here. 4 for 5. He feels solid on his own. The upside of being able to move one of your opponent's cards is unique, and it's a good effect. Now, it all depends on how many cards they're going to have there. If you're moving, you know, a 1-drop, it's not going to feel all that powerful. If you're moving, you know, a 6-drop, a 5-drop, then all of a sudden it feels a little bit stronger. But it also depends on how many cards your opponent has played on the board. Because as we were kind of talking about, there need to be open spaces in order for Stegron to have value. And you need to not really care about those open spaces. So, for instance, when we have Kingpin, we can safely send things flying because if it hits Kingpin's lane on turn 6, we feel okay. Now, if we don't have Kingpin, maybe we're just sending something with power to a different location where all of a sudden it's going to win that location. So, overall, he feels pretty good. He feels strong. He feels like a unique ability. I think he's definitely going to have, you know, his decks. He's going to have a niche that he certainly fits into. I want to try him in a junk deck because you don't care what you're moving in there. You're just trying to clog up your opponent's lanes. So I think he might excel in there as well. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know. You think Stegron's going to be good? Is he not? Is he going to have any impact on the meta at all? Or is he just going to kind of be a tech card? Are there any decks you think that he might excel in? If so, let me know in the comments. And if you've hung around till now would be a great time to hit that subscribe and like button, as it really does help me out. But until next time, have some fun.